Welcome to Sippin Sunday The Podcast. I am here with Davy J. You may know him, especially if you're in the DMV area, at the nightlife in DC, Baltimore, which is not DMV, but it's still in the area.
Right.
So I'm super excited to have you on. Can you let people know what you're sipping on or what your favorite drink is?
So right now I am sipping on some water midday, trying to keep the energy up. I'm not on vacation as of yet, but my favorite go-to bar drink, definitely love a good margarita. Can't go wrong. Like I drink margaritas often, so that's kind of
Okay.
what I go to. If I'm in the club and I just want something like that's gonna get me right, I'll do a double down repo on ice.
On
Some
ice. Oh my God.
ice. You gotta chill it. Like I don't know if you've ever had a tequila shot chilled versus not chilled. It's night and day.
I don't think I've ever had a chilled tequila shot. So I'm not a huge tequila lover. I prefer vodka, but I do prefer shots of tequila though versus shots of vodka. But
Yeah,
now I will have
yeah,
tequila on ice next time.
I like it. I like it. You gotta try it.
I will, and I will report back for sure. And then, what age do you feel like you became an adult if you reached that age yet?
Ooh, I feel like I became an adult when I was 25. I think that's when I really became an adult. When I had to go and find my own apartment, pay my own BGE by myself, pay my own. That is when I feel like I became a full grown adult. But I feel like we adult every day. Like I don't know, we're adulting. There's a new level of adulting every day to me.
Yes, I agree. And I say that often. But it's always interesting to me because people feel that they became an adult when something significant happened, like having to take on your own huge responsibility, graduating
Yeah,
college or from a master's degree, having a child, a significant
yeah,
loss, or getting a job, like a full-time job. All those things are what people have said makes them feel like they're an adult.
that's real. It's always something that you just named.
Yes, it is for sure always something. So let people know a little bit about what your adulting journey has been. And we briefly talked about what you do, how you got here, but start us off of wherever you want to start of like you as an adult navigating to get to where you are now.
Sure. So, starting off as an adult, when I graduated college, I moved into another spot in Baltimore, in East Baltimore, close to Morgan State. I had to find a roommate eventually, but I found the apartment. I realized like your credit score matters in these situations and your pay stubs. And I was like, wow, like all the stuff I had done like really affects your real life stuff. Like if you want to move into an apartment, you want to buy a car or home, whatever, all of this stuff matters. Like they weren't joking. This is for real.
They weren't
So,
joking.
yeah, no, they were telling the truth. So that definitely was a adulting moment for sure. When I had my daughter back in 2020, that was a huge adulting moment. That was like okay, we're here now. Having a child, your whole mindset shifts because you're no longer, I mean, even if you were living for yourself, there's no more of that. Like, there's no more just living for yourself at all. Your thought processes, even how I drive has changed. Like, since I've had her,
So no
because
more
like,
Fast and Furious is what I'm assuming.
yeah, I mean, it's Fast and Furious, but not to the magnitude of Fast and Furious. But yeah, so I mean, that changes. Like, you can't move how you want to move. Sometimes you gotta put them first. Always going to the store changes, thinking of what you're gonna do. Like, for instance, when you have a child and you're an adult and you have them with you, the little things like, do I want to go to the store? And it's like going to the store with a child is just a lot sometimes. It's a lot versus you going into Target, grabbing two items, looking at different things, leisure. having a child, especially a toddler, with you in Target adulting, they grab stuff. They're asking for stuff. They're curious about what's this? What's this like? Your mind has the super multitask. That's why moms are just great multitaskers because they're constantly doing this all day. They're entertaining a human and trying to keep their mind on the grocery list and keep their mind on what they are coming there for. And it's a lot. So that part of adulting definitely was way different. And then now that I've, have grown accustomed to getting my own apartments and getting my own spots and stuff like that, I guess the next part of adulting will be getting my house that I want and the decor and just, that whole aspect. Marriage, house, that's like the next thing.
And where do you feel like that difference comes in between moms and dads of, like you said, moms are always just like multitasking, go, go, go. Do you feel like men's brains aren't programmed to multitask that efficiently and you have to like kind of help yourself to do it?
It is a struggle. I'll just put it like that. It is a struggle sometimes. Like I think women just in general are just more organized beings, more think ahead of time beings. Men are kind of just like go, 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 go. Women are more like, let's go, but let's pre-plan this. Let's make a list. They're just organically like that. So I 100% think women are usually better at handling like children and that aspect because of that, of their most of the time organic nature, just being more organized and thinking ahead and stuff like that.
Yeah. And do you think that millennials and kind of Gen Z, because like now Gen Z are old enough, the older Gen Z to have kids, are kind of changing the narrative and conversations around parenting? Because when you just were mentioning like that this is hard and you have to make a lot of sacrifice, you have to do a lot of stuff. I feel like our parents weren't talking about how difficult having kids is versus us. I mean, I don't have kids, but us as millennials, Gen Z.
Yeah.
But I feel like when millennials and Gen Z talk about that type of stuff, people are like, well, you signed up for it, or that's what it is. Like, you don't need to complain. It's like nobody's complaining. We're just saying that this is actually really hard and we should talk about it. So how do you feel like the narrative is changing for parents?
I feel like one, I'm just gonna say this: marry before you carry. Marry before you carry. I strongly suggest that anyone, in relationships or whatever, marry before you carry. And I cannot emphasize that enough. So I think that aspect of it is a whole nother level of it's just a whole nother level of a journey that is not spoke about enough. Co-parenting is a thing. People have to do it every day, but it's not talked about publicly enough of the trouble sometimes of co-parenting. It's just not spoken about enough. And a lot of people think it's all peaches and gravy. They see the congratulations and all this stuff on social media, but there's a lot more that comes with it. I'll just put it like that and leave it there. I also think that now people are probably more vocal about it because of social media, because we're able to see their everyday lives. So they're kind of like venting more, like, yo, this is crazy, but at the same time, people aren't going to vent as much just off the strength that they don't want to look like a bad parent. If you're having a bad day with your child, you might call a friend, but you might not vent as hard on social media because it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing. You can't handle your business. But I do feel like people don't understand how big of a life change it is. They don't understand the amount of sacrifice, the amount of money, the amount of things. Of course, you adjust over time, just like anything else. You adjust, but it is a large adjustment, and I don't think it is spoken about enough. Um, I believe that the best situation to have a child is with a 2-parent household, with a married couple that has been married for at least a year or two before they have a
Mm-hmm.
child, have the proper financial stability to have this child, because I mean daycare crazy expensive.
It
If
costs more
you
than people's mortgages sometimes.
It is, no,
Like,
literally, daycare costs more than your mortgage most of the time. Um, the average daycare is like $450 a week. So imagine having two
crazy.
children at most people have kids like 2 years apart. So
Yeah.
you're roughly paying around the same for 2 kids. That's $900 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
including food, diaper. Like it's just the stuff adds up. And I mean, I'm not trying to scare people.
No, it's
Have children.
preparing. Because again, it wasn't talked about. It was like kids are a blessing. Kids are great. Like everybody should have kids if you obviously would like them, and like you get married, have kids, get your house, do all that stuff. But it's a reality that, especially in this climate, and just given recent election, like a lot of people are reconsidering, do they want kids because of the cost, because of healthcare, because of just laws and things that are in place that don't seem very
Yeah,
helpful for having a child, when in theory having a child is for the parents and for family and for like legacy and things to keep continuing, but it's also to keep the world going. Like we need people to keep the world
exactly.
going.
Somebody got to recreate. Somebody has to recreate. And then I also think, um, back in the day when they used to have a lot of kids and a lot of children, that was like a normal thing. I think the trauma of watching your parents work to their bone and not spend time with you as much as you would want, that has also deterred people from having a huge multi-family. I mean, my
Yeah.
parents got together and had 8 kids. I'm one of 8.
Oh
So
yeah,
I
that's a
think
lot.
I might be last of a dying breed. Like I don't know. I know
Eight's
like
a
maybe
lot.
one person that I've met recently that had their parents had over 6, but it's like unheard of to have that many amount of kids anymore because it's just not affordable. um, in this lifetime is
No,
hard.
and I feel like even aside from money, like you were saying, time too. Like if you
Uh,
have that many kids, you just don't even have the capacity to give each child the same amount of attention and time. And then when you start thinking about like the birth order, like obviously the oldest child usually becomes a parent figure because they're the oldest
early.
one, and then there's other ones after. The youngest is usually like the one that's not the least paid attention to, but like they have all these other siblings before them, so they're going to help with the child. So the parents are kind of like, do what you want, we know you're going to be fine because you have all these people. And I don't think that's wrong or a problem, but that also just affects you as a parent and what you're able to give after you have all these children.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
What
And
order
yeah,
were you born? Are you the oldest, youngest, middle?
I'm number 7 of 8.
Okay, so you're at the younger end. So
I'm
do
at
you feel
yeah,
like your parents how do you feel like that was, since you're on the younger end of that?
I got a lot of examples early, so I was able to see the trajectory of some of
Mhm.
my siblings' lives based off of the decisions that they made at certain ages, and that was big for me because I saw that and I was like, okay, I like this. I want to go this direction. I don't like that. I don't like the direction they went. So you get a lot more examples early of what
Yeah.
you literally got to see them step by step be where they are, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that to me, definitely was a plus. I think the other plus was just having a tribe around you constantly. I have brothers and sisters I can call almost for anything right now, which is
Which is
dope.
great.
Who doesn't want that? So especially being number 7, who doesn't want that? I have a younger brother and I have 6 older siblings that are experiencing many
Yeah.
different areas of life. So it's cool, in that aspect. I mean, I think the only downfall of it is dealing with so many personalities. And
Yeah.
also, it's like the stuff that you really wanted, I know like they had so many people to pay for it. So it was like if I was the only child based off of what, my parents were making when we were growing up, I would have been a spoiled rotten kid. Like completely spoiled rotten. So I missed out on the spoiled rotten thing, but I got a tribe, instead and brothers and sisters for life. So I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
too
No, I'm one of two. My sister and I, we shared the same dad. We have different moms, and I am the youngest. And so I don't feel like it's always a traditional sibling dynamic in the way of we didn't grow up together, but we are super close, and she is very much the older sister. Like she similar to you saying that we feel like you have a path or guide to show you. I feel like when I became an adult is when I realized more that my whole life she was showing me things without me realizing, because we have an 11-year age gap. So when she's
Oh
graduating high
wow.
school,
11 years. Sheesh.
yes. So when she's graduating high school, I'm like 7 at my sister's graduation. I'm just like, I'm just happy to be here. Like, what's
Right.
going on?
What's going on?
Not realizing, like moving her into college, going to her college graduation. Again, I'm like a teenager, like, oh yeah, my sister's graduating college. Like, this is cool. But then seeing how my life turned out of like going to college and having somebody to call and ask questions and somebody helping with certain things. I'm going
Health.
to get my master's degree, moving, like getting my first job, and so I always thank her and always tell her, and she even will tell me things. She's like, you might not care now, but I promise you when you get to this stage you're gonna say this. And one specific thing is me getting to my 30s. She was just like, when you get to your 30s, like a lot of stuff's gonna change. Like people are gonna be getting married, people are gonna be having babies, people are gonna be doing
Yeah.
this. I'm in my 20s, like, okay, whatever, who cares? Now I'm in my 30s, like, when are these marriages and weddings and babies gonna stop? I was like, I'm tired.
Yeah, it's a new baby shower, new wedding invitation.
And then we're almost, unfortunately, getting to the place of like divorce is about to pop up. That's what she tells me now too. She's like, "Oh, like your friends are gonna get divorced in the 40s, 50s. Stuff might not work out for them." And I'm like, "This is crazy." But I appreciate that
Not
I
even in the
have.
40s. Like some of the 30s already been getting divorces early.
Yes, no, I do know one person that I know of that has gotten a divorce. They got married like 2014, so we were pretty young then. That we were like 20
Yeah, young. Hmm.
2, 3 is when they got married, but they got divorced, and that's the only person that I can think of. Um, and I do have now a lot of married friends.
Yep.
So I'm rooting for everybody, but we'll see. You
Definitely,
just never know.
definitely rooting for them. Also, am noticing like little things that they're doing that I like and that I don't like, and
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
trajectory. Like, see,
yeah,
like, if this method that they're doing is gonna work, because eventually I want to get married. Eventually, I want to get married. Eventually, I feel like at 32, it's like you need to be at 32. I feel like you need to be thinking about it, at least thinking about it.
yeah,
32, I feel like the time clocks for people these days, for men and women, is just like so. It's just a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure,
yeah,
especially for
yeah,
women, because of the timeline that they have to have kids, and it's harder after a certain time. You don't want to just have a kid with
yeah,
anybody. So now people are freezing their eggs. What do you think about people like
yes.
freezing their eggs and stuff? Like, you think
Yeah.
that's
Um, I have one friend. This conversation came up, I think it was like last year, and she was saying that either she did or she was looking into the process. But she more so was saying she was doing it because her job paid for it, because it's an expensive thing to do.
it
I
is?
think that if you're able to do it and you don't have a person or partner at the time, but like you're kind of knowing you really do want to have kids, I don't think anything's wrong with doing it. I think you just have to think about the real reason why. Like, are you doing it because you genuinely want kids and you want to have the life that you want to have, or are you doing it because you feel pressured and you feel like you're running out of time? Because I feel like the feelings behind why you want to do that will impact you in the long run, and your child, because your child
Mhm.
carries like your feelings, your thoughts, your traumas, all of that. So I think if you're doing it in a positive, healthy space. Like, I think that do what you think's gonna work for you, and maybe you won't need the eggs, maybe you will. You never know, but I think that from the planning aspect of health and just stuff happens, like I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it. It's like, why do you want to do it, and what's the
Yeah.
thought behind it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a problem with it, especially if you don't see a partner in your near future. And most women want kids that I know, like they want a seed. They just don't. Is the situation within the seed? Like, how does this look? Who is gonna be the
Yes,
papa? Like,
yes.
how does this? How are we
Yeah.
gonna work it out?
I'm always in between about having kids because, like, as a child or teen, I can never remember a time that I was like aspiring and dreaming that, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have the white picket fence, be married, have kids. And that just wasn't something that was like the thought. But then as I've gotten older, I'm like, okay, do I want kids? Not sure. And I'm more so wasn't sure initially just because of like how life was going. Like, I was in undergrad, went straight to grad school, straight to getting a job. So like I moved to Miami, moved back to New York, then moving here. And I have thought about it at like one period when I was in a relationship with somebody. I was like, okay, I could see this happening. But then as that relationship didn't work out, and then just like figuring out new things and life happening, and just like I know the big time when my sister and I discussed this a lot was when my grandma passed, because for me and my sister it's just me and her. She doesn't have kids, she's not going to have kids. So it's kind of like, if our family is going to continue growing in like the unit of like my mom, my dad, my sister, her mom, like I'm the last person to try to figure this out to have kids. So that makes me just be like, sometimes I'm like, okay, I could see it, but then sometimes I'm like, I don't know, because who's the person? I think that really makes a difference for me. Of if I meet somebody that I'm like, I would want to have kids with you, like, yes, I would do it. Right now, when you can't envision a person or what the other, who's going to help with this, it's a little difficult to be like, okay.
100%.
And all the things we just talked about, money, time, resources, this crazy world, like all those things
It's a
play a
lot.
factor.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
And you can't give them back. So you're
No,
stuck for the rest of your
that's
life.
the thing. Like, there's no like push you back in there. Let me see what's going. Like, there's none of
Yeah.
that.
Like, this is a
So
lifelong decision that you're making for
it is.
yourself and another person. Two people, really, the father and the child.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely a lot. It's definitely a difficult thing. Um, my biggest fear is just like, even in the DMV area, like men aren't really committing as much as you would think. Um,
Yeah.
so it's like, what choice do women have at that age between 30 and 33 when they would ideally want to be married?
Yeah.
um, they're not getting committed to, and they're openly dating, and they're trying to give men a chance, and trying to find that, certain spark and thing to have children with. It's kind of scary. And I mean, I can't sit here and be like, men do this, because I'm 32 and I'm not married. So,
Because you're trying to
it's
figure
like,
it out too.
I can't even blame a finger or anything, but um, I do think that is a conversation that needs to be had more amongst us black men, especially in this area, saying, okay, guys, like, the future is depending on us and our bullshit. And when are we gonna get our bullshit together so that we can get into marriages and have kids, and create families and stuff for the black communities in our area? Because I don't have that many married friends, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Like, I'm
have a
thinking,
lot of married friends, and most of them have met pre-pandemic, or yeah, most of my friends that are married met pre-pandemic. And I really feel like somebody needs to do a study. I've said this multiple times on the podcast, that somebody needs to do a study about people who have met pre-pandemic versus during, or like in this
uh,
time now.
that's interesting. That's interesting.
because I can't even think of many relationships I know that pop into my head with my friends that like they met in the pandemic and like it's been a pretty long term situation.
Yeah, the pandemic
Not
stuff was
many.
just we're bored.
And it's
We're bored.
like I think that the way you meet people has changed, and it's a
Mhm.
little interesting. I mean, you might see this too, which will transition. I'm appreciating this conversation because this is nothing of what we even were just talking about
Yeah, I'm
before
sorry.
we got on here. But this is still good and kind of will transition to you work in the nightlife space, and I feel like the DMV specifically, especially DC, is like brunch, party, hanging out, and then you see the same people, but like sometimes seeing people always in the streets, quote unquote, is seen as a bad thing or not somebody you want to be a partner with, or you don't want to date them because you see them at Brooklyn and you see them at this place and that place or whatever. So I feel
Right.
like it's like the way you meet people changed, and then the image of what you think a dateable person would be is like unclear because of all of the fog, for lack of a better word, from social media, from pressures of where
Mhm.
you think you should be or who you want to be with and stuff like that.
I feel like so the whole to touch on the whole like being outside is unattractive and all of this stuff. I feel like there's a certain way that you can portray yourself and still be out, right? Being outside or being outside, which it just
Quote
sounds like
unquote.
being outside just has a very negative connotation. I'm outside. I'm outside. Like eventually the outside it sprawls negativity, right? Like that's not what ideally want usually is what people say. I
Mm-hmm.
have met people that go out, they may post a drink, they may post, some of their friends dancing. Some people don't post that they're out at all. And it's all about how you portray the outside. Like I could go to an event and have an experience and post something. You could go on an event and post something and it will be portrayed as two totally different things. I could go and take a picture of the artwork on the wall at the club. That's cool. That's like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. You could have an experience where you're posting your friends all twerking, posting getting a bottle poured in your mouth, posting, and there's nothing wrong with these postings. Just saying, there's nothing wrong with them. But when you go into the real conversation of like people saying you're too outside or you maybe just be posting too much extreme outside stuff consistently. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
having everything is about balance, right? Like if you go out two nights a week and one of them is like someone pouring shots down your mouth, the other one is like you shaking butt or like guys like holding up their wristwatches and holding up bottles and doing the whole Don Julio special over
Oh
the
my
head.
god.
Like if you're doing that every day, every weekend, yes, it looks excessive. It does.
Yeah.
It looks, and that is when people are like, oh, it kind of shows what kind of season you're in. I take things of what you're posting and how you're portraying yourself as what season you're in. If you're
Mm-hmm.
in a
I like
season
that.
where
What season are you in?
what season are you in? Like, if you're in a season where you want to go out and put the Don Julio bottle on your head every day of the weekend, and on Wednesdays, special and twerk Thursdays, and just show like all of the outside life that you're in. That might be a season where you are just want to be free, just want to be outside. You want like everything is about what you are showing to me. I could see the same person at different events and they could just be chilling, they could just be vibing, they could just like the music. That doesn't mean that they're might not be an outside season portrayed to the world.
Yeah.
So being outside, I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's all about how you're portraying it to your socials of
Yeah.
being outside too much, or it just shows again what kind of vibe you're in right now in your life.
Yeah. If
So
we
if you're
had social
outside,
media,
you said
yeah,
what?
if we had social media the way that we do now in the 2008 to 2014 era of college, none of us would be here. We would have no jobs. We would be please.
Who
That's
Snapchat was enough.
And
that
that
was
came like the later years because I graduated 2013 from college and
yeah.
2015 with my master's. So like that came like ending time when we were like still outside, but not like we were in the college parties and clubs and stuff. So like
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
always say that would have been crazy if we had TikTok and Instagram came about too, but there was no stories. You only could post a picture and
There's
that
no
was it.
videos. There's no videos. There's no
Yeah, Gen
stories,
Z, imagine a time. No stories, no, not
photos.
even multiple pictures. You can only post one picture.
That was a thing, man. Wow.
Only post one picture, no stories. You probably only could like or comment. There was none of
That
this
is
nonsense.
crazy. Yeah, Instagram grew a lot. Like the fact you just mentioned that is crazy. Yeah, it was none of
Yeah.
that. It
But
was
that
really
that is really a good point about like how you're posting and what you're posting. And I mean for me as a content creator, influencer-esque person on my Adults and Queen page, like I am mindful of how I'm posting stuff, but it did take me a long time to post more like real life things sometimes because people do want to see your real life and feel like they know a little bit more about you than what you're posting. But being mindful of that, like you said, that you just don't know who you're going to run into, who's going to know who. And so you don't want to be posting something crazy. And then they're like, oh, the adults and queens out there doing blah, 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 keg stands and whatever. Like, I will keep that for my personal Instagram, not the adults
nothing
and
wrong
queen
with a good cake
Instagram.
stand at 31. Nothing wrong with a good cake stand. I am I am pro cake stand.
Yeah,
Pro
I
cake.
nothing's wrong with keg stands. I'm just not posting it on my adults and queen
Hey,
Instagram if
but
I was doing that.
that's the difference. That is the difference. You're learning. Yes, you can do it. You don't have to post. I think people over post like sometimes, like over post.
Yeah, again, there has to
It's
be a balance, but I think that it depends on like what you're trying to go for on your social media. Like, what do you want
yeah,
people? The way I always think about it is like, if somebody just was basing something off of my social media, what do I want them to think about me or say about me, or how would they describe
correct,
me based off of
correct.
going on my social media?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah,
Hit it on the head.
yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, getting into more of like what you do, DJing, events, all of that stuff. One, I just want to mention that YouTube mix, I have listened to that thing probably 20 times. I
Oh,
listen
it's,
to that
I
YouTube
appreciate it.
mix frequently. I really love it. I will definitely link it for people to listen to, but I love that mix. How
Thank
did
you.
you get into all of those things? So you went to Towson for communications. Now
Yep.
you're a full-time entrepreneur,
Yep.
DJ, hosting events, wine owner. How do we get there?
Um. So the DJ thing really changed my life. Really changed my life. So I started a media company at Towson called The Lunch Table. I had spread it to 8 different college campuses. We were doing really well. Had a good trajectory of where we wanted to be. COVID happened. All the college campuses shut down. Um, and when it came back, it was just not the same. I'm not gonna say it was a failed business, just off the strength that I'm now learning that things might fail in a sense of what your plan for it and vision for it was, but God
Mm-hmm.
had his own vision and plan for what he wanted it to be and what he wanted you to get out of the situation. So the main thing that I got out of the situation was the network. And that's something that for me was the biggest thing that you can get from a situation when you're trying to be a full-time entrepreneur. The amount of people that you know, the amount of people that you have ran into that you can now contact for anything. That was big. So I was also in the nightlife during that time of just transitioning in my mid early 20s, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was a party host. I threw events, but I also was an MC person, MC mic person on the
Mm-hmm.
mic. And then I realized that the DJs, it was easier to get booked as a DJ. You get paid more usually as a DJ, and it's just more sought after, honestly, for DJs. Like not a lot of corporate spaces, they want a DJ that can DJ and host. So they don't have to book a host. So it's just an extra fee. So I was like, nah, I need to learn this DJ shit ASAP. So hit up some of my friends. I was like, yo, how I need to learn how to DJ, pretty much. They laughed. Some of them laughed at me, of course, as they should have. They're like,
I feel like
really?
people don't view DJs as not a profession. That's not the way. People don't view DJs as like more than a person playing music. A
Oh yeah,
DJ is way more than that. I love good DJs, and I feel like I think I probably like met you through maybe social media. Yes, it was when you posted your creator planner. But then I
yeah.
realized you were a DJ, and then you happened to be at some events I was at, and I was like, oh, this is on the list of one of my favorite DJs now because I love a good DJ.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the DJ stuff really changed my life because I had learned so many marketing tactics from, the media company that I started, and learned so many different people skills in general,
Mm-hmm.
from being able to do that, transitioning it into a service that provided people with a good time and good energy is not a hard sell. People need DJs. People, want a good time, a good vibe, and they want somebody that's personable. They want somebody they can talk to and give song requests to, whatever. So that transition for me was a lot easier than it would have been for a lot of people that have not grown a network or anything before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to use the marketing tactics, use the business cards, use the cold DMs, and use all of these different marketing tactics that I had learned from the media company into putting into a service. And I saw the amount of money that I was making from it. And I was like, wow, this is actually cool as shit. This is something that I love music. I love giving people a good time. I love, being able to go and kind of make my own schedule. This is perfect for me. And from there, you get better and better at it because you actually enjoy doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
in my spare time, I'll be downloading music and trying different mixes. And because I was also an MC before, it really helped me to understand the common ground in the room. Like if I'm at a college, I know what to say on the microphone to get people like amped up or feel like they're included in what's
Mm-hmm.
going on in the room. And then you learn the psychology behind a party. And once you
Yes,
have,
yes, it's a science. In my
it's a
next life,
right.
or when I
People
got
don't
time,
understand
I
that.
would actually love to be a DJ because do you know Mr. Vershawn?
I don't know
Have you
Mr.
heard of?
Vershawn.
He's another one of my favorite DJs. He's in the Baltimore area, and I always joke with him because like I'll see him at events in Baltimore, and if he's not DJing, I always be like, "That was a bad transition they did," and he'll be laughing at me, but I'm like, "No, that was horrible. Like, why would they do that? Like, what's going on?" So
DJs
yeah, I
sometimes have
agree.
bad transitions. I think a bad transition is being lazy. It's
Where was
lazy.
I think it was at the wedding, a wedding I was at. We were like, this DJ sucks. Like he was playing like 3/4 of the song. It was no transition, like no interaction. So I agree. It's a science that like the beginning, you're getting the people just easing into it. Just people are late,
Mhm.
nobody's really there, but you're still playing good music to set
The
up like
vibe,
when you're gonna
yes,
turn up.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Also, being a party person helps you be a good DJ. Like going
Yeah.
to a like some people want to be DJs but aren't party people. They don't go out. They don't, they don't even know what it would even look like
Yeah.
to be in a good party. So that also
Yeah.
goes 100%.
Yeah. So did you you graduated undergrad and you went straight to pursuing entrepreneurship, or did you have a full-time or part-time job before that?
I've had 2 full-time jobs from my 20s to now.
Okay.
I did door knocking for Comcast.
Sound very enthused about that.
That is one of the craziest jobs I think I've ever had or things that I've ever done. Um, I worked for Radio 1.
Okay.
That wasn't a full-time, that was just part-time, but that really opened my eyes up to the entertainment world. I met a lot of cool people down at the Radio 1 Baltimore. that's 92Q, Magic, 104.1. All of those are. There's more. I just can't think of it right now. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And so when you went to undergrad, what did you want to do? Like when you graduated, what was your job you thought you would have?
the job that I wanted to work on BET. I wanted to be on TV. That was like my main goal, was to be on BET, was to be on TV, was to be a media personality. Yeah, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like some 106 in Park, Terrence
Bring that
J.
back. R.I.P.
Yeah, 106. Music videos just aren't the same, and it's like yeah. I
It's
get
not.
surprised when I watch the music video, to be honest. I
Yeah,
don't watch.
I really enjoy watching DJ mixes on YouTube, but I wish that like music videos were good. But again, like with just the new generations, like they don't even know about a good music video. So it would be kind of like,
At
who's
all.
the audience? How are
At
you going to
all.
reach people?
Yep. 100%.
So really
100%.
you're doing something within basically what you wanted to do from your degree and from your experiences in college.
Yeah, I mean, communications is so broad. I mean, I changed my major 4 times, but when I landed on communication, one of my friends was like, dude, you should do communications. Like, everything you're doing right now is communication. So when I was doing the community college route, I was a personal trainer. I was doing like personal training thing. That was like my thing. And when I got to Towson, I was phys ed, which is the most crazy prop to be a phys ed teacher. They want you to be a doctor. They want you to
Okay.
be a doctor before you're a phys ed teacher. It is insane. Then when you actually get into the field, I just want to let this out real quick. When you actually get into the field of being a phys ed teacher and you're like just playing kickball with the kids and you're doing different units, it's like, bro, you didn't need
All that stuff.
anatomy, physiology 1 and 2. You didn't need exercise physiology. You didn't need all of that stuff. You really didn't. You really did not need all that stuff.
So you
At that
changed your major because you were done with that. You didn't want to do all
changed
that
the
stuff.
shit out of it. Changed the shit out of it. No, I was about to drop out of school because of that shit. It was just like, this is too overwhelming to get paid $50K a year. No offense to teachers or phys ed teachers, but it's like, I'm doing all this for $50K, bro. Like, y'all are tripping.
Yeah,
Tripping.
yeah.
So I changed the communications, and that is what really opened everything up for me. I learned public speaking. I learned how to fine tune a lot of stuff that I was already doing, like how to change the rhetoric of a conversation, how to the methods of persuasion class was really dope. Learning about the 41 laws of power. It's 41 laws of power, right?
Yeah,
I'm
I think
sure.
that's a book.
41 Laws of Power, that book. We had to read that. That was big and major on persuasiveness and how to win over someone in a conversation and how to make yourself more likable and stuff like that. It just goes so far. Like, I feel like the amount of knowledge that you get from point A to point B, it really depends. It can hit so many different ways depending on how you use it and who you are. So
Yeah.
me and you know, like, well, me and someone else. Let's put me and somebody else can. Me and
That was
somebody
about to
else,
be tussling.
right? Me and somebody else can learn the same. I don't know, the same Bible verse, right? Or the same. I don't want to use the Bible verse. That's a lot. Me and someone else can learn the same, I guess, lesson in life, like to
Hmm.
always shut the door behind you. I don't know. You know what? Forget it. But I'm trying to think of a good
I get what
analogy.
you're saying though. You're saying like basically you and somebody else can go through the same experience or the same lesson, but you're not going to take the same thing away from it or apply it the same way.
Exactly. Exactly. You're not going to take it the same way. And I think that is what separates people that grow in success in a certain magnitude and people that don't.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. And that's really what it is. Like, people that go through the same high school classes, people that go to the same college classes, it's all about how you use it and what you're using it for. And that really makes a major difference. It makes
Yeah,
a major.
no, it does. And I meant to say this earlier, but we kept going, that I love on my podcast talking to different people and then bringing this point back to everybody that's listening, that
Mhm.
everybody that comes on is talking about their journey, different things. And like you were focused on our conversation of like you being a father, just dating now, relationships, like how are people meeting each other, and entrepreneurship. And sometimes I think that depending on what the person's talking about, people might initially be like, oh, this isn't like an interest of mine, or this isn't something that I might get something out of. However,
Mhm.
from everything that you've said so far and we've talked about, it still goes back to the things that everybody as an adult say that they want or they struggle with. Everybody wants community, and you mentioned how you've just gotten where you are because of community. You've been able to have success just with having 8 siblings and having people that are people you can rely on, people that are teaching you things whether you like them or not. They're teaching you something. And then even for like your decision making and just the drive to keep going even though life is hard. You still keep going and you keep pivoting and changing, and that's really what you need to do as an adult. There are going to be times that are bad and you might be annoyed, but I think what I just remind myself is that, like, yeah, something's going to be bad, but if you just keep choosing to do nothing or you keep choosing to sulk day after day in it, like, you're not going to get anywhere. So
Correct.
don't ignore your feelings or don't like try to brush it off, but you can't, in theory, unless you know you're depressed, seek mental health counseling. That's different. But like, you can't just choose every day as a regular functioning person to be like, I'm just gonna stay in bed every single day, never work, never like eat right. I'm not gonna clean up. I'm not gonna shower. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. Because then you'll just be doing nothing, and you'll be more upset and set farther back than where you need to
Mhm.
be. So it's like you just have to address feelings, but don't sit there, and keep going and moving and changing and trying new things so that you can keep getting to where you're trying to get to, because staying in the same spot isn't going to get you anywhere.
It's not at all. You're
And small
100%
steps are still steps.
correct. Correct.
And people
Correct.
don't like to do that. I mean, for the most part, I would say people that I talk to or like come in contact with about the Adulting Queen seem to be in that kind of mindset. But I do know that there are just many people that are not, especially, again, I know I always go back to this, but the climate of this world is crazy. So that can be very discouraging sometimes to people
Oh no,
to
100%.
keep going or think they're going to find a job because the world's wild. Especially when people going to college, like, they don't think it's worth it because you even mentioned like, I'm going to do all this stuff to make 50K and have student debt and maybe not even get a job. Like, I don't know.
Ooh, buddy, yeah, it's rough. It's rough, bro. It's rough. But everybody has to go through it to a certain extent. I always encourage side hustles while you're doing your main thing if you can. It just helps. It helps,
Yeah.
and then maybe your side hustle can eventually be your full time thing. Or I just encourage people to always learn how to make money outside of their 9 to 5.
Yeah. I think that
One
it just
out
also Yeah, and I think it also just helps because jobs aren't secure, really. I think we really saw that with the pandemic, and that's why a lot of people did start businesses, or that's why a lot of people did start thinking about what can they do being themselves or create for themselves to sustain. So sometimes it is a little overwhelming because you feel like everybody's an entrepreneur, especially in this area. And I'm from New York, so I can't say that like I really experienced that many entrepreneurs, or at least it wasn't like as highlighted as it has been living here. And so it becomes overwhelming sometimes because it's like, okay, where are just like regular non entrepreneur people? But I
Right.
also feel like that as people keep going along their journeys, like either they're going to stop their business or they're going to create something new. So it's like feeling overwhelming that there's so many, but it's going to be interesting and exciting to see where people land with like what they're doing with their entrepreneur journey.
100%. 100%. I
And
like
then
it.
the other thing I want you to talk about, which is really what I had initially thought of reaching out to you, but still really do love that we talked about a lot of different topics. I want you to speak on what your businesses are and how people can connect with them, what you do with them, because you host wine and slow jams. You're a wine owner, Imperial 94, correct?
Yep.
and then you do your own DJing and hosting. So I would love to hear about well, you tell me which one you want to talk about first. But I was like thinking about the event first because that brings out a large crowd. It's fun. You had Lloyd last year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The
We
people
thought
love
about first
Lloyd.
artists to an event. So I mean, Wine and Slow Jams is a year-long process. So I can talk about that first and foremost. That is something that I started because I genuinely loved R&B, and there honestly was not that many R&B parties for people our age. That was something that I saw immediately, and I saw a need for it. This was in 2017, 18. Um, I think it was 2017 that was it 20? I can't even think right now, but I think it was 2017. But either way, that was a time where I was like, okay, I need to have more events. I need to make some money, to be honest. But at the same time, I am tired of giving people the same stuff. I want to give people some different vibes, man. Like I love this R&B stuff. It was always played at the end of the party instead of the whole party. I'm like, let's just play it the whole time. I'm tired of having to wait for the end of the party. Here's some Usher. Turn this
And you
Lil
can't really
Wayne.
start with it because then that makes it like low vibes.
Exactly, bro. Like, can we get Usher at like 10:30, 11? Can we? Like, is that a thing? So I was like, let's just start this event. I named it Wine and Slow Jams because I loved wine. I am still a wine connoisseur. And in the house, I would literally listen to R&B and drink wine and be just in a much better mood. So I was like, I'm going to name the event this. So we start off in Baltimore at Bosphorus. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you were living here at this time, but it was like,
No, I moved here in 2020.
oh yeah, okay. So yeah, you didn't know about Bosphorus. So Bosphorus, what is it called now? I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna text it to you because it's definitely a whole nother place. But we did that. It was a small.
Sandlot? Is that what the area was? Maybe.
Nah,
I know.
it's on York Road. I forgot the name of it.
Okay, yeah, get back to me on that.
Either way, we started off small. And as things progressed, we were growing. We were doing stuff weekly. Sometimes we would do stuff monthly, whatever. It got to the point where it was 2020, and we were like, bro, we can't do our events because COVID. What can we do? So I was like, yo, everything is outside right now. Like, we can be outside. So that's kind of how the outdoor aspect of it started. And it grew from there. We realized how many people love like sitting on a blanket, eating food, listening to, slow jams, being entertained with the saxophone, being entertained with all the kits and gadgets, the games and stuff that we had. And we were like, we should turn this into a festival. That was the biggest dream that I honestly had. Like the vision I had was to turn this into a festival. And 2021, we couldn't do it because of the COVID restrictions and everything. So we did something inside. 2022 was like, all right, we're doing this. We're doing this festival thing. My first time doing something of that magnitude. That was crazy. I actually lost money the first Wine and Slow Jams that I did, festival that I did. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like $120 lost. I'll take that all day. But we brought out 1,400 people at a space that go 4,000. So it looked kind of empty, but not really. And I learned a lot from that. Like I took a lot from that. Brought it to the next year. We overcrowded it, overcapacitated it. And I learned the cons from that. Like, okay, we had all these people. Did we have enough wine? Did we have enough food vendors? Did we had enough, you kind of got to trial and error stuff. You do that. And then last year we tried a different venue, but we realized with certain venues that are not used to events of that magnitude, they couldn't handle it. And it was a lot of just things that went wrong. But it was a lot of things that went right because honestly, people are still coming to these things and people are still appreciating the vibe and the aspect of it. So that's just like the start to finish of Wine and Slow Jams. This upcoming year, we got something really big planned. I'm very excited for this next year because the spot that we are pretty sure we're gonna lock in on, major spot, connected with some cool people, is gonna be in DC. Hopefully, gonna be in
Fingers
DC.
crossed.
And this space can comfortably fit 10,000 people. We have a lot of sponsors. We have a lot of investors that want to work with us this year. So it's gonna be this next year. It's gonna be huge if we can
We
get
love
into it.
that. We love that. Do you have the date already, or we have to wait? If we have to wait, it's okay.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's
just don't
fine.
want to not,
No, yeah. No, I feel you. I plan events and stuff. So everybody just basically follow Wine and Slow Jams, follow Davy
Yes,
J the Virgo,
all of David.
and find out.
Yes.
Don't get yourself in trouble. You don't need to say nothing yet. I just was curious. And then with the wine thing, I obviously would love us to talk about that because we're on Sippin Sunday.
Okay.
Which if I
can get you a couple samples, a couple bottles.
please do, because that's what I was like. If I thought farther in advance, I would have had it already on here. But how did you get into that journey? Because my podcast is Sippin Sunday, which is Sippin Sunday because I started in the pandemic. We would come on Zoom, we would be having drinks. I would highlight a drink or something that I made, and we would just be talking, sitting around, sipping. And then also I love brunch, but also I
Doesn't much, man.
exactly, it all goes together. But then I also always watch church on Sunday or go to church on Sunday. So like just Sipping Sunday, you're resetting, you're doing your self care, you're doing something that
So,
makes you feel good. You're setting the tone for your week. And so with Sipping Sunday and just beverages and drinks, wine obviously one of the favorites. And I've loved being in the DMV area to meet so many Black owned businesses for alcohol. And sometimes they're better, or not even sometimes, most of the time they're better than like the name brand stuff in stores that are like Barefoot. I hate Barefoot now. Now that I've had good wine, I'm not
yeah,
going back to
it's hard to go
Barefoot.
back. It's hard to go back. Once you get quality stuff, it's really
Yeah,
hard to
we
go
used
back
to be
to.
drinking Barefoot like all the time, and now I'm like, oh, I can't do that anymore.
I used to bring Shutter Home to college all the time.
Yeah,
Shutter
exactly. Sutter
Home.
Home, Barefoot, Yellowtail, like all those. I don't want that. No, thank you.
Yeah, nah, for sure, for sure. So the wine thing, it just kind of made sense. One of my friends started a wine company 2 years ago, and I was like, dude, you should give me a percentage, and we could work together. And he was like, we already got a lot of partners. Woo. Long story short, one of the partners dropped, so they were like, who should we add on to the partnership? Because it would be dope to have, keep it the same amount of people. And they saw what I did with the Wine and Slow Jams. They saw what I was doing just in general in nightlife. So it made sense. So they added me on. Dream come true. Another thing that I wanted to do with my life
Yeah,
was to have something, a product that could be as cool as like a wine or liquor or, something
yeah,
like that. And it just fits what I'm doing. So I'm still learning. I'm just getting in. So I'm still learning like, okay, well, can we do this? Well, we need product for this. And how are we getting this product? We're tastings before you just order stuff. And we're really in a very early stage in our wine careers. But wine is something that can last for a lifetime. So I'm not, there's a rush on it. There's a demand. There's certain places that we want to go, certain goals that we want to accomplish. But again, it's a slow burning process. Like you would need a lot of money to really go fast in the direction that you want to go with the wine.
yeah.
So we're just taking our time. We're letting it, just like fine wine, we're letting it grow, letting it develop to what we want. But we have a lot of good big stuff coming up next year.
Yeah.
But all of it is like preparation for that.
Yeah. I've met them. I don't remember what event it was because also doing Sippin Sunday, doing it live. I should probably have
Mhm.
tell people that again. It will be live in Baltimore February 2nd, and I've done it twice this year in 2024. And I was going to events and like connecting with drink vendors for Sippin Sunday. This one in February though will be a dry one, just based off of some things with the venue, but also people in January usually are coming off of dry January, so I don't want to like
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
people be like, oh, you have to drink. And also people always associate Sippin Sunday with drinking. And I'm like, it's not just that. So this one, I'm not going to have alcohol, but there will be drinks in like a little Sippin Sunday cafe setup. But
Okay.
I met them at an event because I was going to a lot of events that had drink vendors. So I was familiar with the brand. And then when I saw you post it, I was like, oh, this is cool that you're able to collaborate with them.
No, for sure. Yeah. I'm glad that you also have already met them. So it's like when we do want to do collabs, it's like already like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And that's something I also just love about this area specifically, that I think it's very easy to collaborate with people, and it's
Mhm.
not going to happen overnight. And that's just life, community, and adulting, everything. Like, people really hate networking or talking to new people. I get it. I
Yeah.
do get it. But I think that when you continue to put yourself out there, whether that's for friends, business, relationship, whatever, you're going to see return. And it's not going to be tomorrow, but over time. Like, you can't, I mean, you can approach somebody like, hey, can you come do this with me? I know you never met me, but whatever. But what I've learned is that when people see you doing something, or they get to follow and understand your journey a little bit better, that's when they're more inclined to respond or listen
Correct.
or just connect you with something.
Yep. 100%.
But people think things should be so quick and like instant gratitude, and that's not what happens.
100%. 100%. And I think a lot of times, I mean, social media does that. It does that. And that's a whole other conversation for another. But yeah, it does that. It makes you
Yeah.
overnight when it's not overnight at all.
Yeah. As my Adults Queen platform keeps growing on social media, I finally in my head have just been like, because we talk on social media, or you see what I'm doing on social media, doesn't mean we're friends. Like, we're friendly. Yes, you know about me, or like I might talk to you on there. But if you don't have my phone number, or you
Right.
don't like ask me how I'm doing, or we're not texting and talking and meeting and having regular conversation, then we're not like friends. But I also am the person that's like, oh my God, hey friend, but it's more so like social media friend, like Instagram friend. And
Uh,
I had to set that for myself as my platform continues to grow, because it's like, one, you overextend yourself when you're thinking that like your friends or people are gonna like exchange the same energy back with you from social media. You can
yeah.
find friends from social media for sure, because I have met people in person that I've been following for a long time, or that they've been interacting. So you can make friends, but just everybody you talk to on there is not your friend.
Yeah. 100%.
Or I'm
100%.
sure even for you, like people see you like, oh, Davy, let us in the party, and like they've only followed you on Instagram. Like, what?
I mean, letting somebody in a party, I'm not opposed to,
Don't
and
open the
then
floodgates of anybody hearing this now.
it's a business. I mean, if it's like somebody that comes to a lot of my events and, they need a get in, get out of jail free card for a day, cool. Like
Yeah.
I'm big on like rewarding people that are consistent at certain
Yeah,
things.
exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's like something that I don't take for granted at all. At all.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you again so much for being on here. One thing I always forget this. A couple guests I forgot to tell them this. You can ask me any question about anything before we get out of here.
Okay. Okay. Oh yeah. Now let's see how the tables turn. Okay. What is your biggest struggle right now with the podcast? Like what is like your biggest like thing that is you feel like is holding you back in the podcast world?
Sponsorships and listener numbers,
Mhm.
because I started my business because I just wanted to help people navigate adulting and like share my resources, share stuff, and talk to people. But I never pictured initially what it could grow into and what it was going to continue growing into. So
Right.
I've been having to shift my mindset in this past year and like for the next year into like more of a business focused mindset than like just trying to give people services and inspiration and stuff. So I really initially just started putting this on podcast format because people asked for it, one, but doing it on Zoom as like meetups on Zoom on Sundays was working. But once the world went back to kind of in person, or we realized that like everything was going to be online, people just got tired of being online, understandably. So I was like,
Yeah.
I need to keep this concept somehow. So let me put it on podcast format. And when I was able to consistently do it, even though episodes aren't consistent, but there's enough episodes. Like I keep posting. I've
Yeah.
been doing it now for a while. So I'm thinking about like when I see big name podcasts, like The Read or even Sisters Who Kill, and
Mm-hmm.
ones that I listen to a lot, like the Mel Robbins podcast, they're getting money. Like they're getting money for just getting on a mic, talking to people, sharing resources. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get those things with my podcast and my platform, because anybody that I meet, like when I'm at events or vending or I'm doing my own speaking engagements, everybody loves the concept. Like everybody loves it.
Right.
So I need to translate that into more people listening, and then with that, then sponsors and people that would be paying for either ad space or paying to have the podcast produced, get an editor, like all that kind of stuff. Because right now I do everything myself, which is working, and the quality and everything is
Yeah.
not bad. Like I just have my mic, we get right here on the computer, and that's fine. But eventually, I would want an editor, sound effects, like recording in a studio, in person with people. And I also think doing my live shows is a start to that too, because people can see it in person, which is one of the things right now. My podcast is recorded virtually. So guests I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to interact with in person, but for the live podcast, you get a whole audience in front of you. They come
It's
interact,
different.
and then that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Cool.
sponsorships and people listening, because my listener count is not as high. I don't really right now focus on analytics. Again, it was for about me just posting the podcast and putting it out there, because I think you mentioned this either when we were on the phone or somebody I was talking to just said like YouTube videos and like audio, Apple, Spotify is going to be here forever. Like it doesn't need to have a million views in the first month of me posting. It's going to be there forever. So I can always just
Right.
refer people back to it, which is what has been the great part about it, that it doesn't matter when you listen to an episode or whatever. The content's always going to be relevant to people coming in.
Correct. 100%. And I think just going in with that mindset of just perfecting your craft, everything else will kind of fall into place. So I think that's a
Yeah.
beautiful concept to have with it.
Yeah, and for the podcast specifically too, what I even think about, and like listening to The Read helps me a lot. Like I really like their podcast, and that they show up just being themselves, talking about how they're feeling or not feeling. Because sometimes they come on like, yeah, I really do not want to record today, but here we are. And in my mind, sometimes I'm like, okay, as a podcaster and somebody that's providing something to somebody else, it's like, do you want to be that honest, or do you want to say you don't feel like it or whatever, because it kind of is a business. But I think that the beauty of a podcast is you can create what you want to do. Like people are coming because they want to
Correct.
listen to you.
Correct.
So you saying something that might not feel good to you doesn't mean it's not good to your listeners, because they like to hear you. So I
Yeah.
had to tell myself that a lot too.
I liked it. I like it.
That was a good question. I've had a range of questions. I do like the questions that people ask me, because it gets a range of things, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But thank you so much again for being on here. This was a really great conversation of all the things that we discussed and all the topics. And I feel like everybody, again, you should know that you need to find community and you need to find people. And it's okay to change your mind and do new things, which is a hard thing to do as an adult. Very hard to do.
It is. I agree. I agree
So
100%.
let them know where they can find you on all social media and any other things that they can do to support you.
So you can follow me at Davy J the Virgo. That has all of the basis of where the Wine and Slow Jams page is. All of that stuff is in my bio. So I would appreciate any of that, any DMs or comments on anything that we spoke about today. Anytime you want to get any events, if you have mentioned the Adulting Queen, I'm open to giving you a free ticket as long as it's not a festival.
Yeah.
So,
Don't be acting crazy.
but yeah, other than that, that's it. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.